evening and welcome to the Thai PBS World. And to comply with the advice from medical doctors and the order by the government that we should stay at home. Right now, Kun Thep Chai Yong is reporting from home. Kun Thep Chai ka, so what's your day of working from home today?
Good evening, Gunata, and good evening, everyone. It's a new experience. Of course, it helps in having being able to cut down the traveling time on the streets. So more time to do my homework to prepare for the program.
Yes. And today we see the Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has declared national state of emergency. So far, how do you see whether it's having details enough? Is it urgent enough?
I think with the national emergency, state of emergency declared today, there shouldn't be any more question as to whether any more drastic measures will be adopted in the coming days, because the decree, the state of emergency decree, gives the Prime Minister wide-ranging powers in dealing with the situation. Basically, I mean, the whole idea of having the decree imposed at this very juncture is to minimize the movements of people. Even though Bangkok and several other provinces have introduced a package of measures to try to discourage people from traveling and for people to stay more at home, it doesn't look like the measures are working to the extent that the authorities want to see. There are still thousands of people who are planning or have already left Bangkok to travel to upcountry, to go back to their hometowns for the Songkran long holiday. And there are still crowds of people hanging out, drinking, having fun, and despite the directive for people to be in the public, in the open as little as possible. So that's why the decree is needed for the Prime Minister to exercise his executive power to enforce the stay-at-home directive.
Yes, and as far as we know today from his address to the nation, the emergency situation will be in place for a month and will be effective on 26th of March. So let's take a listen what the Prime Minister had said today. Also, the authority of the order will include the details of the decree of the state of emergency. Firstly, Prime Minister can order imposing of the curfew, banning rallies or gathering that could cause unrest.
Yeah. Imposing curfew is something that we believe that is on the horizon, because probably this is the most effective way in keeping people away from the streets. And we still have no idea whether or not the curfew will be imposed, but there is a strong likelihood that it will be.
Yes, also and other authorities that will be included according to the decree of emergency. He can also censoring the media. Also, Prime Minister can impose ban or restriction on travel and transportation, restricting the use of buildings or locations, and ordering emergency evacuation. So far, that's the detail that we know from the announcement today.
Yeah, so these are among the powers that the Prime Minister can invoke, but we are still not certain as to which of the specific items of this power would be imposed. The Prime Minister can be selective in choosing which of these topics, these powers to be exercised. But it's most likely that restrictions or ban on travel and transportation will be among the first, to be introduced, because that's where the government believes the problem is. There are people still on the move, people still traveling back and forth between Bangkok and provinces. So we can expect stricter screening, stricter inspection, at roadblocks along main highways leading to upcountry in the next few days.
Yes, that's right. But the case of exception can include the work of the media members as well, because according to our program in the evening, Kun Thepchai, when we talk to อาจารย์ Panithan Wattanayakon, the advisor to PM Security Committee, he also said that work of media community will be a case of exception of this decrease, because he would like the media member to carry on doing our job to keep public informed at this very juncture.
Certainly, from all indications we have seen so far, the government definitely would want the media to continue function in communicating information from government agencies concerned to the public, especially on the do's and don'ts in this very critical juncture. So I believe that, and we hope that the work on the media will not be disrupted by this special decree.
Yes, and recently we have seen many world leaders have declared tighter or stricter rules in coping with the COVID-19. Just before I come into the program, Indian Prime Minister has announced national lockdown for the whole country of 1.3 billion of India to try to fight against the spread of coronavirus. And last night in the UK, we could see how UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson was quite serious in ordering the measure, especially the message is clear: stay at home.
And though huge numbers are complying, and I thank you all, the time has now come for us all to do more. From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. Because the critical thing we must do to stop the disease spreading between households. That is why people will only be allowed to leave their home for the following very limited purposes. Shopping for basic necessities as infrequently as possible. One form of exercise a day, for example, a run, walk or cycle, alone or with members of your household. Any medical need to provide care or to help a vulnerable person, and travelling to and from work, but only where this is absolutely necessary and cannot be done from home. That's all. These are the only reasons you should leave your home.
And we just got news coming in that the whole country of the UK has ordered to be shut down by the UK Prime Minister. So that's the latest development. And we can see the level of seriousness, especially from the UK Prime Minister, in which his gesture, his message was quite different from last week, Kun Thepchai.
That's right. I think in critical times like this, if there are directives or measures that affect people's everyday life, the words should come from the top leader and come in a very clear-cut way, just like the way Boris Johnson just did. I mean, all the bad news, all the sufferings that the people will have to go through come from him directly. And then after that, he spelled out measures that he believes that the government is working very hard on to make sure that it can fight back the pandemic with the help of the people. And so besides explaining to the people the scope of the problem the country is facing, I think he made it the point that everyone should understand that everybody in the UK is in this together, and only them working together can help the country go through this most difficult time. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kun Thepchai, and tomorrow we will see you reporting from home as well, and you'll be joining us for the Thai PBS World tonight at 7 o'clock and for Tini Thai PBS as well.
Okay.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you and good night.
So that's all that we keep you updated on the global scale of the COVID-19.